Redditors, what was your did I f***ing stutter moment? Found out my supposed best friend who I was letting live on my couch was cheating on me with my GF at the time who I lived with. I work in IT, so I work crazy long hours, but we had a massive power outage one day and boss said to just go home for the day, so I left 5 hours early. Caught both of them red-handed. Kicked them both out at once, which was ideal because I got so little to pigeons. One stone type of deal. They both apologized profusely and asked me, even though they made a mistake, why would I kick them out on the street in an area where they can't afford to live, Silicon Valley. I laughed my ass off and said, I guess that's something you two should have figured out during pillow talk, huh, and slammed my front door as hard as I could in their faces. Needless to say, it wrecked me for a while because I loved that girl, but looking back on it, I think it's the only moment in my life where I'm proud to have stood up for my morals and values and not taken any shit or continued to let people walk all over me. And that shit is priceless. Goddamn dude. Props to you for being such a savage and overall badass. Hope everything worked out. When I finally kicked my ex out of my life, she tried to argue us back into being together. As I drove her to the airport, and even had the balls to critique my arguing techniques as inconducive to resolving a fight. I cut her off and said, what part of this are you not getting? We're way past that. This is not a fight I need to work through with you. I'm taking you to the airport, and I never want to see or hear from you again. I like how your breakup method is to just drive her to the airport, as if the airport is a dog pound for unwanted girlfriends. Did she already have a ticket? Did she want to fly? Was there a destination in mind, or was it just a bitch get out of town moment? She had a ticket home, asked me to drive her to the airport. Curious to know more as to what led to the breakup, especially considering how she tried to stop it. She'd been treating me like shit for months. I called her on it. Instead of owning up to it, apologizing, and working on herself, she said, if you think I treat you so poorly, let's just break up. I said, that's a fantastic idea. Get out. She screamed a lot, asserted she was going nowhere until it was time for her to leave. I offered her my guest room, never raised my voice. Some more screaming, a couple hours, a few phone calls, and me packing a lip in front of her later. She changed her ticket. She didn't try to stop shit. She'd been driving me away for months. No thank you, I don't want to work Saturday. Are you doing anything on Saturday? No, I just don't want to work Saturday. You contracted me to work weekdays. Anyway, I got a complaint filed against me for not being a team player. To add context, it was my first job after leaving school, so I never really knew how to defend myself from and stand up to office malarkey. At the time I did do a few Saturdays to appease them, but joined the sports team to give me a reason not to. I have since left for a better job. I live in Dallas. Requested to be on call? Can't driving to Austin for the weekend. Can you check the config on Sunday? Can't. I'm in Austin. Don't have work or any laptop. Reality, I'm playing video games. My boss asked me why I travel to Austin often. All my friends are there and employed by startups and or companies that can potentially hire me. He never asked since. Took me for years in retail to get weekends off. There was some talk about me working Saturdays and getting Tuesdays off, and I said good, that'll give me a day during the week to interview. Never heard about it again. Checking into campus housing, when I gave them my last name, fairly uncommon, and the girl says, do you mean, insert name that rhymes with mine? It's like WTF. Are you seriously suggesting I don't know my own name? This is always my experience. Person, misspells my name me. Actually it's spelled like this. Spells name person. No, I'm pretty sure there was an R in it. Me. That is my biggest pet peeve. I'll have people in my firm look up my name to send me an email and misspell my first name in the opening. In turn, I respond misspelling their first name and signing the email with my name. Or, I respond back with a shortened version of their name that I know they hate. So much this. My email address is my name. My name is in my signature. You have to type in my name to get my email address. And you still get IT wrong. Headbang, 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 headbang. Caught my girlfriend cheating and kicked her out. Went out on the patio for a smoke. I've since quit. Woohoo. And she followed me out asking me to at least give her a few from the pack. I really hope that your quitting story is you handing her the pack saying this is the last thing you get from me and then just not buying a new pack. I bestow upon you my addiction. Begone. Horrible situation. My mom was alcoholic who was paying for all of her boyfriend's nursing home expenses and then paid all of his family's expenses like car payments, big purchases like appliances, or home remodel payments. My mom's addiction causes her health to plummet. She needs to be in nursing care. Her BF dies and his family never contacts her unless it's to complain about that they need money. I take over her finances and cut off of all of their fucking sugar mama payments. If they had stayed in regular contact or regularly visited her, sure I would have considered it. But no. They just wanted her to cover their payments. I cut off the entire family. My mother had a lot of money. One of the assholes, BF's sister, calls to tell me they're going to report me to Adult Protective Services to report me. I say go ahead, I have nothing to hide and your guys are a swipes. They were flabbergasted that I said did I fucking stutter. They tried to report me but Adult Protective Services just reached out to me to see if I needed help transitioning my mother to nursing care. Cocksucking turds. Stopped talking to my mom after that. She died, never hearing from them again. I was the one holding her hand during her last few days of life. They didn't come to her funeral or the memorial her students held for her after that. But what about my money? Why can't you give more money? I deserve her money. Give me money. Money, money, money. When I was a shift lead in a kitchen, we had this one high schooler who always had an attitude and typically I would ignore it, but one day she didn't want to prep or clean dishes and I gave her the choice, but she flat out said no to doing both. Since she had time to talk with her co-workers, I told her to do both. I usually don't make people do anything. I ask if they can, but this time I deliberately made her do both. They usually don't often see me being direct like that, so it was effective. I almost stuttered too, but I will never let her know that. I hate telling people to do this or that unless I really know them well. I was given some good advice about managing people when I first promoted. First, ask nicely, like you're asking for a favor. Then, tell them to do it. Third, punish them as you see necessary. It's worked well for me over the years. Most employees get the things done on being asked. Every now and then, you have to be direct, but even good employees have off days. I've literally never said no to a boss asking me to do something well within my job description. It blows my mind that there are people out there who think they can act like that. Teacher here. This one time, there was a kid that was really annoying. I live by the principle 3 strikes and you're out. When the time came, I calmly told him to leave. He didn't make any moves to leave, so I said, that wasn't a question, by the way. He still hesitated way too long to take his belongings and go, so I dropped the "did I stutter" on him. He was gone quickly. I'm generally a young and quite loose teacher, so this always gets the whole class very silent when it happens. Love that. I wish my class was that easy to deal with. High school student here and I have the same group of people for every class, except for electives, and they're the most disruptive assholes I've ever met. They want to be asked to leave, so the teachers usually just keep them in class out of spite. I wish I could just get on with my work, but my class is so behind on everything because teachers have to use half of the lesson yelling at everyone. Vehicle inspector here. Sir, your back right tail is broken. You need to get that fixed and come back. I'm friends with the owner here and you're telling me that my car has a problem. I already have. If you aren't prepared in the future, don't waste my time. My friend has a shop and does vehicle inspections. At least once a month he hears, but some other shop gave me a sticker and his response is always, how nice for you. Take it to that shop then. Seriously, it gets super old. Don't come into my shop entitled, otherwise I'm sending you out. My ex lived with me when I found out that his friend who was doing pro bono work overseas was actually his fiancée. Me kicking him out was my "did I fucking stutter" moment. No. Bitch. Get out of my house. Edited to add that he thought, but where am I going to live, was a question I would give a flying fuck about the answer to. Edited again since some people are being pedantic. He was not my ex yet when this happened. He is my ex now. But where am I going to live? That seems like a whole lot of not my problem. Right? I told him I hoped he couldn't find a place. This was in New York, so it can take months to find a place. I hope it did. Had a door-to-door salesman ring the doorbell. I was nice and opened the door and stepped outside onto the step. Dogs were going bananas. I let him tell me what he was selling and then politely told him I wasn't interested. Went to open the screen door to go in and he put his arm out to stop it from opening. I have resting bitch face normally, so I guess the look on my face was enough, but I was instantly livid with him. Do you want to get Sparta kicked off my goddamn porch? WTH, this is dangerous. I would start screaming. Have you heard about our Lord and Savior? Not really interested and I was sleeping, so would you like to meet him? My ex continued to text me like normal every day to weeks past the breakup she initiated. Eventually I ended up telling her, look, you don't wanna date, you don't wanna be friends. I'm not going to keep making small talk to make you feel better. A week later she still texted me to wish me a happy birthday. The breakup according to her was because I couldn't read the room well. Jesus Christ. About 3 weeks after getting dumped, my ex complained that she didn't feel like a part of my life anymore. I, maybe not so politely, explained to her that was how breaks up work. My ex complained to a mutual friend that she was not invited to my wedding. The friend responded, yeah, well, people generally don't invite their skanky ex-girlfriends to their wedding. When my boss was trying to make me participate in one of his bullshit morning meetings and all I wanted to do was my crossword puzzle. I got the office reference, but for real, working at Walmart in the morning meetings they would pick random people to do this dumb cheer, and I straight up said no. Amidst all the come on, get up and do start the cheer. Gimme a W. Give me a U, give me an N, give me an I, give me an O. Hey, why is security escorting me out? Spent too long reading this comment as an extension of the parent one and trying to figure out what the fuck a wunio is. When I quit my last job due to a promotion, I let my current boss know I accepted the promotion and gave him 3 weeks notice and that my last day was the 31st of March. He proceeded to tell me that we would discuss a time when he would allow me to leave, and I wasn't allowed to leave until he said so. I very firmly repeated myself that the 31st of March would be my last day, and it was not negotiable. He was the worst person I've ever worked with in my career. What do you do in a situation like that though? That doesn't sound legal, your boss telling you to stay. Slavery is illegal, yes. I called HR and they confirmed that he had no control to make me stay longer and I was free to move on to my new position. And that I was generous for giving 3 weeks notice instead of 2. They coached me on what to say if the situation continued to persist, and offered backup and to talk to him if it kept happening. He was talked to by HR. I was terrorized for the last 3 weeks I was there as he tried to get me to quit so I couldn't move on to my promotion. I contacted HR again and chose not to hand over the 6+ month records I wrote down of his inappropriate behavior at the time because I was leaving the position and it could affect my promotion. I chose to only submit my documentation to support the person after me if they also had trouble, to support firing him. I also had to go to the doctor due to the stress and anxiety levels and I was given prescription medication for migraine so I could make it through the 3 weeks. I didn't have a single migraine after I left that job. I was a CSR for a popular pizza chain and was handed a phone with an angry customer on the other line. They were complaining about having a pizza messed up and I asked what they ordered. Over the next few minutes, their story kept on changing. First it was the sauce, then the toppings, then a missing side. I called him out on it and told him to go scam some other restaurant. Needless to say, he only got one F-bomb in before I hung up on him. Wish I had your backbone. One of our drivers forgot a 75-cent dipping sauce when he went on a delivery. They called complaining and the protocol was to give them a free pizza on their next order because driving all the way out for 75 cents was just not worth the time or money. Well, this bitch complained and complained until I offered her 3 large pizzas, and then she went on a power trip and said she was never going to eat here again. One of my driver buddies heard and just grabbed as many sauces as he could and drove over to her house. I stayed on the line long enough stalling until I could hear their doorbell ringing. When she came back she just hung up. I was working at Wally World and a customer who was on his phone from the start of his transaction. Don't do this. Placed a big package of toilet paper on the belt. I told him it was $10 even. He was still on his phone but handed me a $10 bill. Gave him his receipt and he walked away. Right before he walked out, he noticed I didn't give him the change and he tried to argue with me that I didn't tell him that it was $10 and he wanted a refund. I sent him to customer service because I couldn't give him a refund even if I wanted to, and he mumbled under his breath that I was a dumb bitch. I replied, "It's not my fault you were on your phone." He turned his head around and said, "What did you say?" I slammed my hands down on the countertop and said, loud and clear, I said, "It's not my fault you were on your phone." He took a step back and left and I went on my break. Worth it. My cousin was accused of not returning a customer's card. He explained that she never handed him a card because you swipe your own card. She refused to believe him and threatened to call the cops. His bosses threatened to fire him. She finally found the card in her bags and insisted he put it in there. He asked to review the security tapes and his bosses refused. For some reason his bosses reviewed the tapes without him and told him on his next shift that he was correct and she had put the card in the bags. My point being, customers can be a pain and I'm glad I worked in the back room during my too long Wally World sentence. I was working the electronics register once and this lady came in, bought something less than $10 and paid with a 20. Gave her change. She asked a question about the TV wall behind me, so I turned around, turned back and answered her a question. She then let me know I forgot to give her the $10 from her change. Called back a manager, have her $10 and off she went. The next day, I got dinged for my register being $10 short, which is when I realized she had quickly stuffed the $10 in her pocket and claimed I didn't give it to her. Live and learn. She came back in that same day and tried to run the same scam on me. I let it go until she said I didn't give her all her change. I said I'm pretty sure I did, but I can call a cash office person over to count my drawer to be sure. Suddenly, she didn't have time to waste sitting around and left without her $10. The fast food place I worked in years ago had a policy that you were only to have $50 in your drawer at any time, the same amount you opened with. This was nuts, since you would be calling for a manager every third customer. I was chided a few times on not having dropped my money into a small safe near the till. I would drop money, just not all of it or as much as they wanted. Luckily for me I decided to drop all the $20s one night. Plenty of $10s to make change. The cousin of a friend came in and handed me a $10. When I gave him the change he said it was a $20. I showed him that there were literally no $20s in my drawer. He still stood there arguing with me for 5 minutes facing a drawer with only $10s or less. This is my 2-week notice. Yeah, can you come in? Day a month away? I said I'm putting in my 2 weeks. Yeah, I heard you, but we're going to be short-staffed that day? Reminds me of something that happened to me not long ago. I put in my 2 weeks at a retail place because I landed a better paying, full-time job at a resort. A month into working at the resort, I get a phone call from my old boss while I'm on my lunch break. Paid lunch break BTW. Hey, just calling to remind you that you're working from 4-8 today. Literally a month after my last day, and almost 2 months after I initially put in my 2 weeks. This dude has the audacity to tell me that I have to come in. I told him to get bent, and then he's all, "But I put you on the schedule, so you have to come in." Then he acted all surprised when I still refused to come in. I guess he thought the schedule had the power to magically summon any minimum wage worker of his choosing. I work produce at a grocery store. I already know I'm not staying for longer than my first semester of college, and I feel like this will be the reaction. Especially considering I was told to work on a day I had to go to a funeral. You're scheduled for tomorrow, 8-430. I won't be in. Why? The funeral I explained to you on my time off request form. Well, you know Saturdays are our busy days. Why can't you just come in? I'll tell you Wednesday.